If you want to see the 3 looks I created with the Norvina Mini Volume 1, then stick around. Hi there, it's Hélène and welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome to HMM Makeup or Makeup. I am, as I said in the teaser, going to talk about the Norvina Volume 1. It is the first of 3, I think so far, 9-pan palettes in this little mini format. And it has the same kind of naming convention as the large Norvina Pro palettes that I think are 25 eyeshadows. In this case, as I said, it's 9. And these pans are a lot smaller than the Pro palettes, but they give you a color story that I think is reasonably curated, and that gives you somewhat of a range of eyeshadow looks, despite the fact that it's only 9 pans. And I did 3 looks with this little guy, and they were substantially different from each other, and I thought that I would do a bit of a lookbook for you, so you'll see some pictures of the different looks that I did right here on the screen so that you can follow along. But I will tell you not only, or show you the looks, but also tell you what specific shadows I used where, because I think that that is useful. And if you could not follow along, it was just going too quick, or you want to reference, you can take a look in the description box for each look and the description of what shadow went where. And I did the same thing for the Sultry palette, for the ABH Sultry palette, and I'll put that video right there for all 7 looks that I did with that particular palette. Okay, let's get into look number 1. And look number 1, I went pretty basic to a certain extent, but I did want to start with something that was reasonable just to get a feel for the palette. So let me just open up the palette and show you the palette and just walk through it. So I ended up using C2 in the crease. So there are rows here. So this is row 1, 2, and 3. And I used C, so this is the C row, C2 in the crease, outer lid, and outer lower lid. Now it looks a little bit blue. Maybe on the video it is more of a purple, and so it definitely gave a purple look. And along with that, I did also use A2 on the brow bone and also on the inner corner. Then I also used A3, and this one I used on the inner 2/3 of the lid. And then I went with C1 on the very inner inner brow to inner lid space. And what I mean by that is right here. And I tend to use color on the inner brow here. It tends to look good for my eye shape. I don't think it looks necessarily flattering on everybody, but in my case I seem to be able to get away with it. And I thought it did a really good job. And then B2, I ended up using that as a topper on the inner to outer lid on that look, and I thought it looked really good. It just kind of brought it out a little bit. This shadow is a duochrome, but it also seems to have a certain ability to be somewhat sheer, and so I thought it acted as a nice topper. So it's a little crumbly the way I showed it to you, but I don't know if you can see that it's kind of like a topper. And I thought it did a really good job. It almost adds like a little bit of a duochrome effect to the look. And I really enjoyed my first look. When I did my first look, I thought, okay, I can deal with that. So for look number 2, as I wiped my fingers, I got a little bit more brazen, and I went with kind of flamingo, corally, peachy colors. And I call flamingo colors anything that looks sort of like this. To me, that's a flamingo color, and that's more like a peachy orange. So let's talk about that second look. So I used A1 on the outer lid, outer crease, and inner corner to the brow. So I was quite generous with that color, just kind of decided to go for it. And then I used B1. And this one was on the outer lid, outer crease, and outer lower lash line. So I used the deeper colors to do what I would usually do, deepen the outer crease, outer lid, and then on the lower lash line. Next, I ended up using C2. And I used C2 that may look a little bit blue on camera, but it's definitely a bluish purple. And for that one, I ended up using it on the lower waterline, so quite tight to the waterline. But I wanted to bring an element of purple to the flamingo look that was on the upper lid, and I thought that the purple would add a little bit of interest. And then finally, on B2, I did add that color. Oh, actually, sorry, A2 was on the brow bone and inner corner. Or, no, pardon me, brow bone and center lid. I did add a little bit of a pop to the center lid for that one. And I just wanted to add a little bit of interest, and I think it did a good job while still being subtle. And then B2, I ended up using on the inner two-thirds of the lid. So I did this first and then went back and added this on the center lid. That was my last step, but for some reason in what I wrote down to recall the look, I have them kind of backwards. So I used the this one that had a nice effect in look number 1, redid that for this look, and then this on the center lid to just kind of bring the eye forward a little bit more dimension. So that was my flamingo look, as I call it. The first one was kind of a pinky purple, second one more of a flamingo look, and now this is my third look. So let's talk about that one. So for that one, I went with C3. That looks deeper than what is on my eyes, but I promise you that is what I used. And I used this matte burgundy in the crease, outer lid, and outer lower lid. So I went to town with this one. And then I added it, because I liked it so much, I did add that one as well to the inner brow, going inner brow to inner corner. So again, that kind of triangle here, you can see how I added some of that color. Next, we have the brow bone and inner corner that I used. I used this one a lot for brow bone and inner corner, basically all 3 looks. And then B3, I ended up using that one on the inner to 2/3 of the lid. And I think that it was basically matte burgundy outside, matte pink inside. And I think that for a matte look, those two did a really, really good job. And I'm quite happy with that matchup. I am not sure if the first look or the third look is my favorite. On look number 2, the lower liner, purple liner, I think really made the look, so that's something I'm quite fond of. I have a feeling this is my favorite, even though it's kind of a bold look, maybe compared to the other 2, a little bit. But I think that this one is my favorite. I would say I'm kind of tied for look number 1 and number 2, probably because of that purple liner. If I hadn't done purple in the second look, the first look would probably be my second place, or first place. Yeah, that's it. So 3 looks. I think that if you like pinks and purples, I think that you would easily make friends with this palette. If you are more of a neutral lover, I am going to say that these guys definitely add a nice pop to a neutral look. I think that they would be quite fetching. And then again, if you like neutral looks, I think that this burgundy could definitely be a friend on the outer lid. I think that works quite nicely. This one, by the way, looks very peachy orange, but it has more of a pink hue on the eye than one might think. They actually go really well together, almost this one being a lighter version of this one. So don't let that fool you. It's not really an orange. It's more of a pinky color that pulls a little bit to the orange. I thought that I should mention that. Out of all of them, what are my favorites? I would definitely say these two and these two are my favorites out of the whole palette. I don't think it's a bad palette. I think it's a good palette, assuming you like the color story. I don't think it's going to be my favorite out of the 3 minis, but it's my first one. It's the first one out of the 3 that I created a lookbook for. So I'm not going to say that that's a definitive, but that's my assumption for now, if that makes sense. I think that volume 3 is going to be my favorite, but I could definitely be wrong. So the next lookbook you can expect with these mini palettes is, of course, volume 2. As a matter of fact, the next lookbook overall for Anastasia is probably going to be the Norvina Mini Volume 2. And I will leave it at that. Let me know what you think of this look. Let me know what you think of the other 2. Which one is your favorite? And do you have preferred combos for this palette that you would like to share? If so, I would love for you to leave me a comment, leave us a comment in the comment section below. That is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it every single time. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But for now, take care.